So today we'll start with the induction and cardinality. The last lecture we have seen the functions, types of functions, and composition of the functions, and what are the different notations that are frequently used in the functions, such as the domain, codomain, the image, pre-image. Okay, this kind of concepts we have seen in the last lecture. In today's lecture, we'll focus on the induction and cardinality. Induction, by listening to the name itself, you come to know what we are going to study in this. That is mathematical induction. We used to say that for everything in the real world, whatever is available, we can prove using mathematics. Okay, all the equalities or inequalities, whatever it may be, that can be proved using mathematics. So in this proving, the induction plays a major role in proving the things. So first of all, before moving to the induction, first why this particular induction is required, from where this induction begins, that we are supposed to focus on. So basically this induction will begin with reasoning. Okay, the reasoning is required for building the logic. Okay, without reasoning you cannot build logic. So this is basically in India, this is the basic tradition from the ancient system, that many people used to come, many people used to give their solutions, but they always used to debate to get finest results. So this debate is not a one-side debate or maybe a prejudice debate. This debate is always focusing on a particular hypothesis. They are going to provide evidences in favor of the hypothesis, and also the opponents will propose opposite to the hypothesis. There will be a judge who will take these arguments and finally decide that whether the hypothesis can be accepted or not. This is what in our Indian ancient tradition is there, which is also called as Tarka Shastra. Okay, we are calling and we are learning it as a logic in mathematics. So this induction is a kind of reasoning. So this inductive reasoning will start from the observations. For example, consider a basket of your favorite fruit, whatever it may be. Let me consider basket of mangoes. Okay, I want to decide whether the mangoes are raw mangoes, or ripe mangoes, or rotten mangoes. Now, what you do is physically you will observe each and every mango in the basket. After making several observations, you may come to a conclusion that all the mangoes in the basket are raw. Okay, mangoes in the basket are raw. Now, this is a conclusion you are going to make out of this. That means you are picking up the mango one by one and making the observation and doing this. So this you start from first mango, then without replacing it, take the second mango, third mango, fourth mango, or maybe with replacement, you do it and observe whether it is raw, ripe, or rotten. Right? Now, The observation what you make is specific observation. The specific observation by making in mind that whether it is raw mango or a rotten mango or ripe mango. Right? From this specific observation, you are making a general conclusion that the mangoes in the basket are raw. Okay? This is what is called the inductive reasoning. The inductive reasoning mainly focus on making the specific observations and leading to the conclusion. What type of conclusion it is? It is a general conclusion. It is a general conclusion. Right? So, then what is the inductive reasoning is a suitable one for making the general decisions? Inductive reasoning is logically correct. It will give you logically correct, but realistically may not be true. So the inductive reasoning logically it is correct because you have taken some mangoes from that and you have observed, you found that all are wrong. Okay. But if the basket is too large, then you may make several observations out of that. You cannot do each and every observation in that. Okay. You have picked up the first mango and plus one, second mango you picked up and made the observation. Plus one, second another mango you picked up and observation. Several observations you made and finally you have come to a general conclusion that mangoes are wrong. So this is logically correct. The way you are doing is logically correct. Okay? But realistically it may not be correct. On the other hand, we have another type of reasoning called deductive reasoning. This is inductive reasoning. Another is deductive reasoning. There, what you do is, you will start with the general statements and will make the specific conclusion. Inductive reasoning is reverse. You will take the specific observation and makes the general conclusion. Deductive reasoning is one, you will take the general observation and make the specific conclusion. Clear? So, to make a note of this, we'll go for just I'm typing in notepad so that you can also make note on this. If you can understand the topic what I am saying, it is very easy to understand this entire mathematical induction concept. So, the reasoning we have seen inductive reasoning and second one is deductive. So, in the inductive reasoning, we'll make the specific observations and decide on general conclusion. For example, we'll consider the statement 1, mango is a fruit. Statement 2 is basket is with fruits. So you may conclude with this basket have mangoes. Okay. You can make a conclusion like that, basket have mangoes. There is no rule that all the fruits in the basket are mangoes. While coming to the deductive reasoning, You will observe the general statements, and we'll go for and decide specific conclusion. Here, statement 1 is mango is a fruit. Statement 2 is fruits have seeds. So you may make a conclusion that mangoes have seeds, right? So in the inductive reasoning, this is logically correct, but realistically may be incorrect. Okay. While coming to this, deductive reasoning, it is logically correct as well as realistically also correct. So this is the deductive reasoning, but the induction is one, or we can say, along with this inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning, we have one more thing called conjuncture. Conjuncture means an unproven hypothesis. This unproven hypothesis will be proved using induction. Okay. So for this, we use mathematical induction. It will say that if the given hypothesis is true for given input, then it should also be true for the subsequent input. This checking will do in the mathematical induction to prove the given hypothesis. And this procedure is said to be domino effect. Okay, this is said to be domino effect. If it is true for one input, then it's a plus one. Next input, subsequent input, should also satisfy this particular hypothesis. Okay, so this is said to be the domino effect. I hope by this time you come to know the reasoning in which inductive reasoning and the deductive reasoning. So for mathematical induction, we use inductive reasoning, in which we'll come to the checking of the domino effect, that the hypothesis is true for the given input, so that it is also true for the next inputs, subsequent inputs. Let us consider a series f of n as 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 2n, that is, and so on, 2n, is equal to n into n plus 1. So this is the thing that I am supposed to prove. So always you consider the first element to do it. So f of left hand side, so when you take the first element, what could be the first element in the left hand side? What could be the first element in the left hand side? Because it is starting with the series with 2. The series is starting with 2. On the right hand side, if you substitute 1, then 1 into 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, for the first input, it was okay. Now, like that, if you check it for 4, 6, 8 and all, it is fine. That is, we are getting n into n plus 1. After traveling up to 2n, if you add the next element, that is 2n plus 1. Sorry, 2 bracket n plus 1. Okay, it is up to 2n, no? So, plus 2n plus 1. So, if you take n plus 1 common from this, so this will become n plus 1 into n plus 2. This is on the left hand side. This is on the left hand side. So that means wherever n is there, you are supposed to place it with n plus 1. Home. Here. So this is left hand side. Now let me go for right hand side. So wherever n is there, n plus 1 to be substituted. So first n will be replaced with n plus 1. Next n will be replaced with n plus 1 plus 1. So it is coming up to n plus 1, n plus 1 plus 1, n plus 2. Check whether the LHS and RHS are equal or not. So since the LHS and RHS are equal, so we can conclude that this series is true, okay, by proving via mathematical induction that this series, that is 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8, is true for the given element and also for the subsequent elements. I hope by this time you come to know the inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, and conjecture. Conjecture is the unproven hypothesis that we will prove right using the induction. Okay. So in order to prove that, we require dominoes effect. The dominoes effect is nothing but the given element. The given hypothesis is true for the given input, then it is also true for the subsequent inputs. And please remember, mathematical induction, there is no rule that the mathematical induction will always start with the initial input as 1. Mathematical induction may start with any element in the given series of real elements or maybe natural numbers. There is no rule that it will always start from 1. Okay? Depending upon the hypothesis, the value will change. But for example, if I say 2 power k, n square greater than 2 power k or 2 power n, if this kind of equation was given, then for which value of n this particular condition true? So it never starts with 1. This condition will true always with some number in the given natural numbers. Right? So the condition will be that is condition, that is hypothesis related condition may not be true with the initial value as 1. So that is the reason mathematical induction, there is no rule that always will start with 1. Clear? So far we have come across the induction, that is inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, conjecture, and domino effect, and we have seen one example. And also we can come to know that mathematical induction will never start with there is no rule that always the mathematical induction should start with the input as 1. So the induction is like combining an infinite ladder. Suppose we have the infinite ladder, we can reach the first rung of the ladder. If we can reach a particular rung of a ladder, then we can reach the next rung. So just like that, step by step, we will move on. So the mathematical induction is also like that. We will go for step by step, and we'll make a generalization that if it is true for k, it should also be true for k plus 1. So the principle of mathematical induction, to prove that P of n is true for all positive integers n, we complete these steps. The basic step is to show that P of 1 is true. Inductive step, show that P of k to P of k plus 1 is also true for all positive integers k. To complete the inductive step, assuming that inductive hypothesis that P of k holds for an arbitrary integer k, show that it must be true for P of k plus 1 also. So climbing an infinite ladder example, basic step, by 1 we can reach rung 1, then assume the inductive hypothesis that we can reach rung k, then go for the second step, third step, like that you can go up to k plus 1 steps. So how this mathematical induction works? The mathematical induction is used to prove the conjecture. Conjecture is the unproven hypothesis. In order to prove that, what we require? We need to test with the input starting with 1 and subsequent inputs. This procedure is said to be the domino effect. Okay. Consider an infinite sequence of dominoes labeled 1, 2, 3. For each domino is standing. Let P of n be the proposition that a nth domino is knocked over. We know that the first domino is knocked down. That is P of 1 is true. If it is true, then it will fall on the next one. Then thereby the next subsequent dominoes will also fall till it reach n. Okay, just like you are playing cards, when you arrange in the sequence order, if you touch the first card, automatically it will fall on the second card, and subsequently it will go till n. So this is what we call domino effect means. Hence, all dominoes are knocked over. The P of n is true for all positive integers n. So here is an example proving a summation formula. That is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on plus n is equal to n into n plus 1 by 2. So first we need to do with the input value 1. So when you do it with one input value 1, 1 into 1 plus 1 by 2 is 1. Now inductive step, assuming the inductive hypothesis holds P of k. So what you are supposed to do? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n plus n plus 1 you have to do. So you know up to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n is n into n plus 1 by 2. Just to substitute there, plus n plus 1. Then it will become the k plus 1 into k plus 2 by 2. So instead of n, I am taking another variable. So to not to get confusion, that is k. And the same thing you place at the right hand side also, n into n plus 1 by 2 plus n plus 1 will become the n plus 1 into n plus 2 by 2. So the LHS and RHS are equal. Hence, it can be proved by using mathematical induction. So conjecturing and proving correct a summation formula. So here is a summation formula has been given. That is 1 is equal to 1, 1 plus 3 is equal to 4, 1 plus 3 plus 5 is equal to 9. So 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 is equal to 16. You need to observe the pattern. So previously the first example that what we have seen is 2 plus 4 plus the things. So here in the series, each element was differed by 2. 2, 4, 6, 8 like that. Just up to 2n. So the next element is 2n plus 1. So automatically it is an even number. Whatever. So like that, here you will observe the pattern. So the pattern, if you observe, it is coming up to the first one. 1 is equal to 1, 1 plus 3 is equal to 2. So 1 plus 3 is equal to 4, which is become 2 square. 1 plus 3 plus 5 is equal to 9, 3 square. 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 is equal to 16, which is 4 square. Like that it is growing. So that means how much difference you are incrementing, that much square it you are getting. Okay, so here 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus and so on plus 2n minus 1, because you are incrementing by 2, but you are getting odd numbers there, 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus like that. So 2n minus 1 you are making here is equal to n square. This is the general conclusion you made. Now you are supposed to prove it for the first step. Okay, 2 minus 1 is equal to 1, and there 1 square is equal to 1. So p of 1 is equal to 5. Now you prove it for the k plus 1. Okay. So what you are supposed to do is here, you are supposed to add 2k plus 1 there. And we all know that 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3 plus 5, and so on up to 2k minus 1 is k square. So k square plus 2k plus 1 will become k plus 1 whole square. And if you add n plus 1 at the right hand side, where n is there, if you substitute n plus 1, then it will become n plus 1 square. So thereby it is proving the mathematical induction. So important points using mathematical induction, you can make note of this. Anyhow, I have already told you the important points. You can also make if any new point comes in this. Mathematical induction can be expressed as the rule of inference, P of 1, and this symbol. What is this symbol is said to be? Logical AND. Okay? Logical AND. For all k of P of k to P of k plus 1 is for all n belongs to n into P of n. So this is for all n P of n. That is what is into be true. Where the domain is the set of positive integers. This is for all positive integers. In a proof by mathematical induction, we don't assume that P of k is true for all positive integers. We show that if we assume that P of k is true, then we will only see if P of k plus 1 is true or not. It is just like picking up the mangoes from the basket and checking whether they are raw or ripe or rotten. So we cannot pick all the mangoes from that. We will make a random observations from that, and we will see whether they are raw or rotten. So we are assuming that okay, the mango is raw for the first time. Okay, then if you pick the next one, it will be also raw. This is the assumption we are making and going. So this is the important point. Second point we are supposed to do. Proof by mathematical induction do not always start at integer 1. Okay, as I told you just now. So proofs by mathematical induction do not always start with at the integer 1. In such a case, the basis step begins at a starting point b, where b is an integer. So in the given natural numbers or positive numbers, the b value may start at any time. Just now, as I told you, example n square is greater than 2 power k. Okay. We'll see examples of this soon in this. Here you look at prove that n is less than 2 power n. Can you do it without seeing the answer? So basic step is P of 1 is true since 1 is less than 2 power 1 is equal to 2. Inductive step, assuming that P of k holds for k is less than 2 power k for an arbitrary positive integer k. We must also show that P of k plus 1 holds since by inductive hypothesis k is less than 2 power k, it follows like this. So 2 power k plus 1 lies between, that is k plus 1 less than or equal to, that is 2 power k plus 1 less than or equal to 2k plus 2 power k. So if you take 2 power k common, then 1 plus 1, then it will become 2, 2 into 2 power k. So bases are equal, so powers to be added, 2 power k plus 1. And here is another example. So use the mathematical induction to prove that 2 power n is less than n factorial. Now we look at here, for every integer, n is greater than or equal to 4. It is not starting with 1. In the previous case, it is starting with 1. Now it is not starting with 1. It is starting with some b in the given set of integers. So the b is here 4, greater than or equal to 4. So we will start with 4 now. Right? Can you do it? So the answer is already available here. You can go through this. So the basic step now is starting with 4. P of 4 is true since 2 power 4 is equal to 16 less than 4 factorial. Now the inductive step, assume that P of k holds, that is 2 power k less than k factorial for an arbitrary integer k greater than or equal to 4. So 2 power k plus 1 is equal to 2 into 2 power k. So 2 power k means you can call it as k factorial. While coming to the right hand side, that is by inductive hypothesis, and the right hand side k plus 1 into k factorial. So here note that here the basic step P of 4, since P of 0, P of 1, 2, 3 are all false. Proving divisibility result, this is another example. Use mathematical induction to prove that n cube minus n is divisible by 3 for every positive integer n. Now there is no condition here. So what you can do is, you can start with 1. In the previous case, n is greater than or equal to 4, like the condition has given. So P of 4, like that you are starting. But here there is no condition. So if you place 1 cube minus 1 by 3, 0 by 3 is divisible, right? 0 can be divisible, right? By 3. So it will become 0. Then the same thing to be used for the k plus 1. So k plus 1 whole cube minus k plus 1. So you can make it k cube minus k plus 3 of k square plus k. So whenever it is there, obviously k cube minus k we are already aware of, that it is divisible by 3. Anyhow, here 3 is there. 3 into anything can be divisible by 3. Okay, simply just by looking at only we can conclude that it can be divisible by 3. The number of subsets of a finite set, this is another hypothesis, conjecture. Use mathematical induction to show that if S is a finite set with n elements, where n is non-negative integer, then S has 2 power n subsets. Actually, this particular example was taken from chapter 6 of the standard textbook that we are referring. So the solution for this is, let P of n be the proposition that a set with n elements has 2 power n subsets. The basis step P of 0 is true because the empty set has only the same element, that is null is the only one that you are having as a subset, and 2 power 0 is equal to 1. Now the inductive step is P of k is true for an arbitrary non-negative integer of k. So for an arbitrary non-negative integer k, every set with the k elements has 2 power k subsets. So here is an example with the diagram, it was shown here. Let T be the set with k plus 1 elements. Then T is equal to the set union A, where A belongs to T and S is equal to T minus A. That means already you have taken the subset. Okay. So then here you are supposed to calculate hence the cardinality of the set is equal to k. For each subset x of S, there are exactly 2 subsets of T, that is x and x union the previous set. So we all know that the cardinality of the set is k. So if you make union, then it will become by induction hypothesis S has 2 power k subsets. Since there are 2 subsets of T for each subset S, the number of subsets T will become 2 into 2 power k, that will become 2 power k plus 1. So that means if you add a new element, so that you will get this 2 power k plus 1 subsets. So here are some questions for practice purpose. Find an integer n such that 2n greater than n power 4. Not is 4n. This is n power 4. So n is greater than capital N. Prove that your result is correct using mathematical induction. Next question is use mathematical induction to prove that a minus b is factor of an minus bn, where n is a positive integer. So obviously, just by looking at only, you can say n into anything will become the factor. So use mathematical induction to prove that 9 divides n cube plus n plus 1 whole cube plus n plus 2 whole cube, whatever n is a non-negative integer. You start with 1 here, 1 cube plus 1 plus 1, 2 cube, 8, 8 plus 1, 9 plus 1 plus 3 cube, 3 cube is 27. 27 plus 9 is 36. So 36 by 9 is divisible. It's just like how n cube minus n is divisible by 3. But what you have done, the same technique you are supposed to use here.